So let me the the core proposition of the product is that you can do ideation, planning, and execution in one place. So if you look at typical product managers life cycle and the different tools that they use when they're in the ideation phase of the product, so most of your time is spending in thinking, brainstorming over a whiteboard. You might be using tools like a mind map, or maybe you will use Miro, or a lot of sticky notes here and there. Then there is some time that you spend through that. You spend through talking to customers and all. Then once you got a clear picture of something, you go into a planning phase where you decide, okay, what are my resources, how long am I going to build this, what are we going to do first, what's next. And some of the tools that come into picture are, let's say, a spreadsheet or a Gantt chart, or you might be picking up some road mapping software, right? And then kind of once you have an approval of the management, and once your budget is passed, and once you jump into execution, then you pick up tools like let's say to-do list or Trello for collaboration, or something like Jira where you maintain your product backlog. All this sounds good and rosy, uh, but the expectations from a product team are changing. Earlier, you could spend a year in launching the MVP, but today that's no longer, that doesn't work. Competitors will come and kill you, right? So the MVP you need to be launching in at most 3 months. So, and now one of the challenges, you see all these tools, right? You're using so many tools, and something is here, the ideas are here, your plans are here, and you're executing here, and there is no interlink between all of this, right? So most of the time, this is how you're working, right? Ideation, followed by planning and execution. Whereas this is how you should be working. Let's say you start with some ideas, have a plan, execute it. You could actually be jumping back and forth between these phases, right?
Correct.
That is something that none of the tools out there provides, and that is what we are trying to do with Thoughtflow.
Interesting.
So
sounds great.
Let me I mean, the tool itself is actually very flexible. Like, it's as flexible as a spreadsheet that you can, like, you pick up a spreadsheet, you create some tables that you want, you create some columns as you need, you add new sheets as you need, right? So you can fully play around with it. At the same time, if you have, let's say you're doing the same project again, you can create a template and try to reuse that. It is that kind of a flexible tool. So let me show you how we are using it to identify an MVP. So let's say the current problem statement is that a product team needs to go ahead and find an MVP, right? So you must have seen this kind of image where they say that MVP should not be like this, it should be like this. Right? So at any stage, it should be a usable product. So how do you actually identify that feature set that makes up a usable product? Okay? So for this, what we've done is we've built a story mapping template within Thoughtflow. So I'm going to demo this to you. So what are the elements of a story map? You have a product, right? So that says what are we building? A user persona that says, okay, who is going to use it? Then a user goal. What exactly is this persona going to achieve in our product? Then user steps. Okay, what are the things, different sequence of steps that they do in our product? User story that says, okay, in order to do this step, what features does our product need to have? Right? Then a kind of release that says, okay, what are we going to do in the MVP? What user stories are we going to club in the MVP? What are we going to do in the next release and so on? So these are the elements of a story map. So let's say if I had to build a story map in Thoughtflow, how would I do that? So, okay, so this is Thoughtflow interface. So the index page is kind of similar to a Google Drive, where you can create a new document and you have a list of existing documents. Right? And when you click new, you see a list of templates related to different domains, or you can actually start from scratch. You can start with a blank mind map or a blank spreadsheet. Right? So I'll show you an example of a user story map that we've already made. We've taken use Uber as an example. Okay. So let's say, so a quick run through of the interface here. The interface is kind of similar. It merges themes from 3 different tools. One is a spreadsheet where you have different sheets, and then you can create different columns which are kind of specific entities of that sheet. So let's say I have my product. I can give my product or let's say description or some fields that will elaborate this in more detail, right?
Okay.
And then I can also create links to other fields. So let's say I have a product and user persona. This is a link between a product and a user persona. So I can create fields that link between multiple tables. So
Okay.
that is the spreadsheet view. The other view is a data structure view. Data structure view gives an overview of what are all my data elements and how are they interlinked. So here this says that a product has many user persona, and this is the label that we are using for reference. Right?
Okay.
Similarly, a user persona can achieve many user goals. Right? So this is a label. So this is a data structure view which gives me an overview of all the data. So in the next
Got it.
version, you're actually going to see some arrows and see how everything is interconnected.
Okay.
The third view is a tree view. Now, in this was more a spreadsheet kind of view where you saw products and user persona. In user persona, you saw user persona and then its related steps and products. What a tree view does is it shows how everything is interconnected. So here, I'll run you through the Uber example.
Sure.
So if Uber is the product, then who uses this? These are the two persona, the commuter and the driver, right? And a commuter, what is their goal? A commuter wants to book a ride and go somewhere, right? And how do they do this? When we talk about user steps, typically we talk about this outside the. I mean, if your product didn't exist, what were the steps that the user would take, right?
Okay.
So let's say I would see if there is a driver nearby, right? I would mention my details to the driver, right? Wait for the driver to accept and drive to the destination. So this sequence of steps is similar whether you're booking an Uber or you're talking to an auto wala.
Sure.
Now the next step is actually break down these user steps into user stories, which are kind of features in our product, right?
Got it.
So for example, if I want to see what are the drivers nearby, I could actually show a map of the drivers, right? I could be detecting, to do this, I could be detecting the user's GPS location, right? Or I could simply just show there are 3 drivers nearby, right? Now,
Got it.
similarly, if I break down each of this, no, this is more in a brainstorming session where you're sitting with your team and figuring out what should be the features of a product, right? So now, similarly, each of these things that you break down, let's say you take the persona of the commuter driver and break it down into smaller user stories. You know, that kind of forms your product backlog, right?
Got it.
Now, when you have your product backlog, we have another. I've added another field here called release that says now user story is mapped to one release, right? So each of my release, I can in my release table, I've added 3 releases: MVP, V1, and V2.
Okay.
So now what I'll do is in MVP, I'll say, okay, we'll do this map thing later. In the first version, we'll just show count of drivers nearby. Right? Now, with this kind of planning, what's happening is we are selecting the feature set that is going to give us a complete product that is going to map through all the user steps. But we are going to pick up the things that we can quickly execute, right? So instead of map view, we are going to just show the count, right? So for example, the next step is specify the details of their ride, right? So maybe instead of having a GPS or list of all location, we'll manually enter something or pin code. No, you'll pick up the features that can make up your MVP. So by you can figure out an MVP that passes through all these steps for the commuter persona and a driver persona. And I'll show you, recently we built a Trello integration for Thoughtflow and we use the same mechanism. And within 1 week, we were able to launch that.
Interesting.
So I'll show you the journey for that. So this is a user story map for our Trello integration. So say what we said, okay, this who uses this, people use Mindmaps and Trello.
Okay.
And what is their goal? Have an ideation and planning workspace that syncs with Trello.
Okay.
Right? And these are the different steps. Okay, you want to ideate using a mind map view, right? Then once you have a set of ideas, you want to assign some scores in terms of impact and effort on a spreadsheet, right? Then you want to move the prioritized items to Trello, right? And visualize the mind map from Trello, right?
Okay.
So these were the different steps. Now, we were doing this for an Atlassian contest, and I got to know about it very late. It was just
Okay.
1 week, so I didn't have the
Uh-huh.
time. So
Okay.
now using this technique, now I have a list of features that if I want to ideate, these are the different features that I need to make, right? And if I want to assign scores, these are the different kind of features that I need to make.
Okay.
So what we did is we picked up the features that we can quickly execute, and kind of have a complete product, and we launched it, right?
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
right, so if you are starting out with a new product idea, this is a great way to ideate and bring your whole team on the same page. So even if you have
Definitely.
an exist
No, no, go ahead.
even if you have an existing team and you're onboarding a new member, now it takes a lot of time for somebody to understand a complex product, what it does and everything, right? So this kind
True.
of a map like this gives a clear picture of what our product is.
No, absolutely. I think you
So
are
this
using your
is
own
one.
product for your own product evaluation, right?
Yeah, yes.
Interesting.
Another example that we are using right now is let's say my deliverables, right? So like how I'm talking with you, I'm talking with a lot of other people, and I have some promises that I've made them, right? So when your product is established, you have a very clear set of people that you're talking to, and you have a very clear demo, and you have a very clear set of deliverables. But in the early
Okay.
stage, you're trying a lot of different things, and then trying to figure out, okay, what do I give this person? So for example, I'm talking to a blogger right now, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to somebody who runs a mind mapping platform, I'm talking to a
Sure.
few early beta customers, right?
Okay.
And then at the same time, I'm building integrations with different tools, like how a Trello integration is there, we're building something for Airtable, something for monday.com. Now for each of this, so what I made a map is, I made a map of the stakeholders, right? Some fields like what is the next step for each of these, right? What is the expected outcome with that person? Then a deliverable, what do we need to deliver for this stakeholder to be successful? And what are my activities to achieve that deliverable? And all these are interlinked, right? So
Sure.
now what I have is, I have a map that, okay, if I want to see for this person, right? So Lokesh, what do I need to do? Okay, if I'm going to give a demo, I need a bug free experience, right? And in for that to happen, what are my activities? I need to fix all the bugs and build missing features, right? So based on our conversation, if something else comes up, I'm going to add it here, right?
Got it.
So
Got it.
again, this is a workspace that I've built for myself. So the way that we are approaching is, you can create your own workspaces, and at the same time, we'll give a lot of ready-made templates, like how the user story mapping is, that will be useful to a lot of people. So we'll give
Okay.
ready-made templates that you can get started with. So that
Definitely.
is our approach to the market. I think I've given you a demo and overview of the
Absolutely.
product. I've run you through all the features. There are
Sure.
a few more features that we've built. Like for example, you can sync this with Trello. Once you have, for example, in the user story map, I can, for example, this is something that is synced with Trello.
Okay.
So what I can do here is, I can say sync as Trello cards. I go here, I generate a Trello API token, and then I'll get this additional column
Got
that
it.
allows me to sync this with Trello. So same user
Interesting.
stories that I have here. This okay, I think there's some login issue here, but this can be mapped to Trello.
A particular card.
Yes,
Got it.
and
Got it.
slowly we are building integrations for now Jira, Monday.com, and all these other popular project management tools.
Interesting.
So, so there is a space of project management tools which are very popular, but if you look at the planning and ideation part, they are very limited tools like Miro or Mindmaps. So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to cover this space by integrating with existing project management tools and creating a visibility in their marketplaces.
Got it. Got it. So, Kranthi, this looks pretty awesome. I think a lot of hard work has gone into building all these things. So how big is your team?
Uh, Team, no, full-time employees right now we are two. Just I
Okay.
think few months back we were three.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, I've been taking kind of product management interns from product school who've been kind of helping out with ideation, not talking to customers,
Got
that
it.
part. So right now it's just two of us.
Interesting. That's a commendable job. A lot of things which can help a product management team. So definitely, I'm gonna use it for my own work. So Kranthi, let's talk about the journey. Starting from scratch when you started working on this idea. So, how did you validate this idea? And did you build this and then showed it to the customers, or did you talk to them before building something? So, how was the process?
So I mean, I don't know if my process should be followed by everybody because it was a
Mm-hmm.
long and arduous journey, and
Uh-huh.
so it depends on your strengths. So I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a lot of people tell you that you should have a clear customer. You should be very clear about who your customer is before building everything, right? But actually came across this book called Disciplined Entrepreneurship, which says that there are three ways that you could be into the market, right? One
Okay.
is that you have a technology and you have a strong something strong that you built in terms of technology, or you could be a strong domain expert that, like for example, if I was a product manager for 15 years, I would have a domain expertise. Or you
Mm-hmm.
should have a strong purpose that you believe in something and then you make that happen, and that's where you see a lot of NGOs happening, right?
Okay.
So I think I'm more of the first category. When I started out, my background was more of an engineer, and I was a UI architect, so I was really good
Mm-hmm.
at building UI user interfaces.
Okay.
But I didn't. I mean, I was always an entrepreneur. We have another product, SaaS product called Yanoni.com, which makes money,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I started this, I didn't have much of an idea
Mm-hmm.
what we are going to build. But there was one problem that I had. I used a lot of mind mapping tools like Mind42, MindMaster, and all, right? And I use that down to know how you use mind maps. You take a central concept and then you do your work breakdown into, you get a big work breakdown of complex things to smaller
Mm-hmm.
tasks.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the challenge was when I wanted to prioritize, I would have to actually copy all this into a spreadsheet, then put some scores, and then do the sorting and filtering.
Right.
And then again, if I add something new in the spreadsheet, that's not visible in the mind map. So
Mm-hmm.
that was always a pain. So I thought, okay, if somebody else is using mind maps, they might also have this problem. And I
Sure.
posted this on LinkedIn. That was
Okay.
probably around a year and a half back,
Mm-hmm.
and I added some tags like mind maps and all. And coincidentally, that post went viral and it got around 30,000 views and
Oh,
around
wow.
100 comments. So now that kind
Okay.
of gave me a confidence that
Mm-hmm.
there is something here that we can build.
Mm-hmm.
Then slowly I started collecting those people and talking to those people, what professions they are in, why do they use mind maps, what is the gaps that they are seeing and all. And slowly, as we saw some common patterns, I mean, product idea was there, but slowly when you see that, okay, this is something that 10 people could need, or this is something that only I would need, nobody else would use this, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
get a picture of what is to be built. And then
Sure.
slowly we were building some features, going back to them, giving demos, and kind of it's been an iterative process. So
Okay.
another thing is, like, for example, the user story mapping. Normally
Mm-hmm.
what people would use is, if you know the user story mapping, it's more like a flat whiteboard kind of a thing with a lot of sticky notes. But the same thing can be done with in a tree kind of view. So we figured out there
Right.
are a lot of frameworks like OKRs, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You have objectives on the top which are mapped to multiple key results, right? Which are then mapped to, let's say, some team leaders who are going to deliver those key results. So that is a tree view. Your org chart is a tree view. So then we
Mm-hmm.
realized that how a spreadsheet is very common in the analytical world.
Mm-hmm.
In the tree view is actually pretty common, but so far whatever you see as a tree views are only visual. They don't talk
Mm-hmm.
about the data. So I think
Okay.
this is where we saw a big opportunity, and we
Interesting.
are kind of targeting the frameworks and use cases where a
Mm-hmm.
tree plays an important role.
Got it. Got it. So how was the response? So once you launched it and made it public, so how was the growth and how was the feedback and how you're using those feedbacks to improve the product further?
Um, to be honest, we never did a public launch sort of a thing. I shared in
Mm-hmm.
some private WhatsApp groups. So like this New Year, we had done a release,
Okay.
but we realized that people couldn't figure out what's this. They were expecting. At that time, we don't have this spreadsheet view in a very simple manner. So we were
Okay.
clicking here and there. People were just coming and going away. So
Okay.
then we realized that, okay, this is something that we need to improve. And
Mm-hmm.
recently also, the reason that we launched was that Atlassian contest, and we built this Trello integration. And after launching that, we got a really good response in terms of I mean, we don't
Okay.
have any paying users yet. We haven't
Mm-hmm.
had any pricing or plans yet. But the response has been good in terms of the people who use Mindmaps. From them, there has been good response. Like today morning, I was talking to someone who uses Mindmaps very often, and their challenge is that they're a podcast host, right? And they talk to a lot of different interviewees. Now they want one map where they talk to, let's say, on the center you have your studio, then you have different speakers that are going to talk. Then with each speaker, what are the questions that you're going to ask, right? Now you can create a mind map like that. Now they wanted to integrate this with a calendar, which shows them, okay, this is date is blocked for so and so speaker. This date is blocked for so and so speaker. So that's why they like the Trello integration. So that was one person. I was giving a demo to another product manager today, and they really liked the user story mapping experience. So no, I think we are just getting started. It will be too early to say what's the response. I can
Def-
just
Definitely. Definitely. So, what kind of technologies do you use, and what kind of product tools do you use to manage this entire work?
So initially we were actually using a lot of different tools, but then we realized that if we want to make our product successful, we have to use it. So slowly we are trying to, like earlier we were making some product backlog in Jira. We bought that into Thoughtflow, and whatever features were missing for the product backlog, we built those features. Right? So like that, now we are trying to use Thoughtflow ourselves so that we know what are the pains. And the tools that have gone into this is Angular and Node. Angular in the front end, Node in the back end, and Mongo database. In future, we might add something like a graph database, which will make relational queries and all those easier.
Got it. And how do you track the success of this product? I'm sure you might have created some metrics to track the growth.
To be honest, I think we are a bit early to track success. I mean, there could be two reasons that either we are too early or I am not good at that part. So probably when no, my goal from my end is that I want to get to at least first 100 customers and then get more people who are strong in their domain. Let's say growth hackers or product marketers, or get those people in and let them make this their baby. So I'll be
Definitely.
honest there. I'm not. That's not my strength.
Got it. And so, talking about customers, so I can see that right now the product is free. And so, what are your plans with the monetization of this product?
So I mean, we want to make it pricing where pricing should be out of the question. So it will be something simple as $9 per month per user, and there'll be a free plan where you'll get to make 3 maps, and that should be enough to see that okay, this product is worth paying for me. And then because it's a per seat pricing, once a product manager uses it and they find it useful, they'll spread it across the team. The engineers will use it, because it's, let's say for example, user story mapping is something the product manager does. Once that is linked to a product backlog, all the developers will want to use it. So our
Got it.
focus will be initially to grow the number of seats within an organization than to acquire more and more. And once we
Oh,
see that, once you have the story established that this can be this can be a product team's go-to tool, then
mhm.
we want to go ahead and probably raise some funding.
Got it. And how do you plan to market this product? And it's a pretty good product, but
Hmm.
still you're competing with the likes of Trello, Miro, and all these big players, right? And there might be like hundreds of different tools in the market. So
Right.
what are your go-to-market strategies?
So there are 4 hooks that I'm looking at. One is
Mm-hmm.
thought leaders, right? Those who are already talking about their frameworks. Let's say they have a platform. Let's say, for example, Neerail. He writes about the hook model. He has written a book over it, right? Jeff Patton has written about user story mapping. So these people are talking about certain frameworks and they have their audience in place. So we want to partner with these people, right? Then when we talk about frameworks, there are a lot of people on blogging on Medium and different platforms of this for these frameworks. And now as of today they share images of whatever, so that's very static. What we want to do is we want to make some templates and tell them that you can put these templates on your website and you can get some referral income. So somebody sees this template on the website, they come to Thoughtflow, they create something, you get some referral bonus. So these are 2 things. Then you have, as I said, we are integrating with a lot of different project management tools, and then let's say, for example, if there is a Trello integration, a lot of people are looking for Trello mind map, right? And there is no such thing. And if we show up in their marketplace, that becomes a good way to acquire customers. So
Definitely.
these are the different hooks which already there are a lot of different audience, and if we solve their problem, we fit into their workflow.
Sure. So, Kranthi, one last question before we close this session. So, what is the biggest product lessons that you have learned while building this cool product?
I think my biggest lesson, something I realized today morning, is that you could spend 100 hours on ideation or a lot of different things, intellectual thinking, but even 5 minutes of conversation with a prospective customer is far more valuable than any ideation or brainstorming that you do.
Definitely. I think the customer is the king. Customer feedback is the most important thing that you can do as a product manager, as a product maker. So with that, Kranthi, thank you so much for taking time, giving demo of this cool product, and sharing your product lessons learned, and sharing your insights of product story around Thoughtflow. So thank you so much, and all the best with the growth of this product. Thank you so much.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity, Lokesh. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.